What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are of course here to talk about WrestleMania 41 Night 2. And just like yesterday, let's just get into it. So the show opened with Stephanie McMahon in-ring promo. I can't lie, we weren't paying attention. I don't know, she came out, said WWE good probably. Now let's do a WrestleMania. So cheers, Steph. And then the show properly began with the easily match of the night and easily match of Mania, with Iyo Sky versus Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley for that Women's World Championship. Now, I was worried at first going into this because Iyo Sky entered first. However, champs entering first apparently was a good sign, because Iyo Sky did end up retaining in once again what was the match of the night. This match was absolutely incredible. It was just so good. They've, shooting from half court with triple threats this Mania weekend. I'll just say that much. However, Iyo Sky entered first, looking awesome as always. Bianca Belair entered next, and a really nice entrance with her stepdaughter, which was really nice. And then Rhea Ripley entered last, because obviously Hunter, loves Rhea Ripley. We all do, but come on, man. And she came out dressed as the Batman Who Laughs, which looked fucking sick. And then essentially this match just followed the formula of the build. Bianca and Rhea, they only care about each other. They are not paying attention to Iyo. They are treating Iyo as an afterthought, despite the fact Iyo is the champion. And I said, the entire build of this feud, unless Iyo wins convincingly, this is bad. And there was a few times throughout I was a little bit worried. They were big bro and Iyo I say big bro and Iyo quite considerably. Maybe it's because Iyo bumps like that. Iyo has always bumped like that. What an insane person. But I think this match was fantastic, and I think a lot of the character stuff did work. We got an absolutely fantastic Iyo hitting that motherfucker to just then get dropped by Bianca right after. We had, super riptides being thrown into the mix. We had just a KOD getting picked up. All three of these women they went out there and they were giving it their all. And it is a bit of a point at this point to just keep saying, these three are probably the three best women on that roster, the main roster anyway. They've been consistently booked as such as well, which does help, but I think in general, even without their booking, those three are probably the highlights of that roster. The same way I'd be saying this if Iyo wasn't in the title picture, I'd still be saying she is probably the best woman on the main roster. I think those three are the three you build your division around, and I'm very glad that they've realised that and they're building their division around those three. I think Iyo winning was obviously the right choice, especially because of the build. But just in general, I think Iyo is the one who can get the most out of the most people. And I think especially if you want to bring some people up from NXT, possibly Julia. I know she's kind of just got there, but the title offer, obviously, because of that injury, which then ended up not being that bad. She didn't win the title against in the four-way there at the weekend. So you maybe just bring Julia up. I think Iyo probably gets the best out of Julia. Iyo will get the best out of most people, because I think her style is the most malleable to most people. She can bump for the bigger and stronger girls. She can go, move for move with the quicker and more athletic girls. And she kind of works and can slot in anywhere without also feeling like an underdog, without kind of having that sort of Rey Mysterio sense of, can he do it? Because Rey is again a guy who can work against anyone because of his adaptability and his size and his moveset and things like that. I think Iyo does that really well as well. However, there's a lot less of the, what does Iyo have to do to win this here? And I think building that division around her, as they've proven in the past, is the right move. The finish came then, an absolutely fantastic finish where Iyo goes for a poison rana on Rhea off the top. Rhea kind of grabs her and sort of inverted Alabama slams her. They're on the ropes, and then it's kind of into the turnbuckle post head first. She goes forward, face first into the ring post. Bianca then comes in, grabs Rhea for the KOD, hits her with the KOD, stacks her up. Iyo moonsault right on top of everyone and pins Bianca as well. And this is exactly what I said it should be. It should be a convincing win where Iyo's not, picking the bones and throwing someone out. This was a really, really good win, and I think, the correct one for this, and I think the correct move for this. Iyo Sky, still your Women's World Champion, and the night got off to an absolute flyer. The second match of the night then came in the form of the Sin City Street Fight, Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre, a match I wasn't that excited for going in. However, the two of them went out and over-delivered. And to be honest, I knew they were going to over-deliver. I think both of them had such a chip on their shoulder going into this. I think Priest also always historically does well in street fights, even back when he was Punishment Martinez. in Ring of Honor. I remember he had a really good sort of big plunder-filled match with Marty Scurll, which I remember fucking rocked. But going into this, I wasn't the most, kind of enthused by this, especially when Drew was doing the Bloodline Hunter thing, and then it was clear that Roman was like, well, that's not going to main event WrestleMania, me versus Drew for no title, so I don't want to do that no more, and they just stopped the Bloodline Hunter story. And again, I've been critical of the story going into this, where Drew was just like, my issue with Priest isn't actually an issue with Priest. My issue with Priest is the fact that every time I got fucked over by CM Punk, Priest was there to benefit, even though my beef was with Punk, it wasn't really with Priest at the time. And then Priest eliminated from the Rumble, and that's the story going in. I didn't like the story going in. I don't think this match, kind of in the same way that with the triple threat from night one, the main event, I didn't think it entirely justified its existence. Not to say that I thought it was. I knew it was going to slap, and like I said, as soon as the entrance started, I was smiling from ear to ear. But again, with this match, I kind of was a little bit like, I don't know what's going on. Drew came out and had like a Doom sort of inspired gear on, because it was sponsored by the new Doom game, and then he just stood with a Doom statue on the ramp, and it was really awkward for whatever reason. Then Kerry King from Slayer played Damian Priest to the ring, and it was weird and clunky and also a bit shit. And then these two just got in and just had a big wonderful plunder match. 2 tables got set up outside the ring, and then when Priest went to do his old school move, just thrown out of the ring through these 2 tables. Drew went to grab his phone off his brother like he did last year. This time, took a selfie instead of tweeting bored at work lol. Took a selfie and was like, still bored at work lol. Absolutely fantastic. Heater. I typically shit on chronically online wrestlers, because most chronically online wrestlers are insufferable geeks. However, social media was made specifically for Drew McIntyre. He is a menace, and there is when I talk about him being a chronically online wrestler, I mean that with love in my heart and purity and joy. But these two, like I say, they're just 2 big horses. They were just going at it, just 2 big boys. The future shock on the steel steps, he hit Priest with that again, and once again that just looks like it hurts Drew more. And I mean, see, to be fair, Drew taking back bumps on the steel steps, nothing can be worse than the one he took at Bad Blood, so I guess the only way is up from there. Now, I have been speaking about Drew a lot in this match, but Priest was absolutely fantastic as well. It does take 2 to tango. Both these guys have really good chemistry, both their styles work really well, just 2 big units who are just like freak athletes as well. They can move a lot quicker than a lot of dudes their size, and they just, for me, they worked really, really well together. And a bit of a sprint of a match, just under 14 minutes this got. I thought they did everything right here, and it was fantastic. There was a lot of, setting things up to then bring them back later. Like, what happened with the finish is there was a table, or a chair rather, set up in between the turnbuckles, kind of wedged in between them, and as Priest was kind of getting his way back into the ring after getting fucked up on the outside, as he's kind of crawling through the ropes, he gets claymored into the side of his head, into the chair, and Drew put him out to win the Sin City Street Fight, in a match that I had high expectations for what was going on in the ring, kind of the same way that I did with the main event of night one. The story going in, I was like, I don't really get it or care that much, but I knew as soon as that bell went, it was going to be good. Both these guys had a lot to prove. Both these guys have chips on their shoulders. They went out there and they showed why Hunter has put so much faith in both of these guys for the last couple of years, and it really paid off here. We then had the match I was the most excited for, probably out the whole weekend, going into WrestleMania weekend, and that was the Fatal 4-Way for the Intercontinental Championship, with champion Braun Breaker defending against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. Now, we all knew this match was going to be a heater. We all knew Dirty Dom was winning, but it was so good, and it was, considering they only got 10 minutes 30 on the button, I personally was kind of hoping for a little bit longer. And I think I don't know if this is a better match if it's longer. I think this is a different match. This was just essentially a sprint from the start. Penta just going out and showing out. Braun Breaker, as always, coming in from off screen, flying through with shoulder blocks. Carlito showed up at one point. Pulled Penta out the ring. I think he stops Penta from winning. Pulls Penta out the ring and starts baiting him. And then he clears off an announce table and stands up on an announce table, and as he's looking to pull Penta up, he just kind of looks out a shot, and there is Braun Breaker, who runs off the other announce table, jumps, spears Carlito through the announce table. Every single time Carlito was on screen, Braun Breaker takes that personally. That was incredible. Obviously, there was the tensions with Finn and Dom going into this. You know, the Judgment Day kind of working together. And then Dom, at one point, goes for he sees his spot, sees his opportunity, runs for a 619, and Finn catches him. And then basically the alliance is kind of dead from there. They do a little bit of working together in the start, but there is a tension there. Then Dom tries to hit him with a 619, and then it kind of breaks down. They are still obviously a little bit working together through the match. Obviously Carlito's there, but as soon as Carlito gets speared, it's then just done. At that point on, is every man for himself. The finish comes then with just, I mean, there's loads. It was great. It was just spots, man. It was so good. But the finish came, you had Carlito or Dom up on one corner, and he gets taken out, and you have Braun and Finn in the ring. So Dom is on one corner, Finn then hits a sling blade on Braun Breaker, then the shotgun drop kick, which sends. So it's like one side of the ring, you've got Dom here, and you've got Breaker gets shotgun drop kicked into this turnbuckle, like laterally from it. Then obviously Finn goes up, coup de grace, and then as the ref is counting to 3, off comes Dominic Mysterio with the frog splash onto Balor and Breaker, pulls Balor off Breaker, pins the leader of the Judgment Day to win the Intercontinental Championship. 2 fucking huge cheers. Now, we've booed the whole booed Dominic thing. Dominic is not getting booed in the way Logan Paul is getting booed. Dominic is not getting booed in the way that Cody was getting booed in AEW. Dominic was getting booed in that sort of we're in on this. We love this guy. It is so much fun to hate Dominic Mysterio. Everyone loves hating Dominic Mysterio. And people were booing Dominic essentially as part of the show. But when he came out at Mania last night, cheers. For the first time in a long time, the crowd were 100% united behind Dominic Mysterio, because we've seen it. We've seen the growth in his ability in the ring. We've seen the growth in his character. I've been a big advocate of Dominic Mysterio pretty much from the start. I think his first match, obviously, with Rollins in the Thunderdome, that was good because obviously it's Rollins, and Rollins is one of the best of all time. But obviously he had a long way to go. Went into the team with his dad and was just. It wasn't great. They had some fun matches. They had some good matches. They had a lot of fine matches. But Dom, never really shone in that. And then they turned him heel. I was like, this is great for him when he turned heel on Edge. But just over the years, you've just seen his confidence grow and his abilities grow. And one of the things that I hated the most about last year is the fact that he was caught in the Liv and Rhea feud, and he wasn't really getting a chance to shine. He wasn't really getting a chance to go and wrestle and show what he can do. And then he went out last night and he hooped and he won that Intercontinental Championship, and the whole place went nuts for him. Then anyway, and honestly, my favourite moment of the night probably after the match, he's walking down the ramp and he just goes, nah, you know what? Victory lap. Runs the whole way back down the ramp, past Balor and Breaker, slides into the ring and goes up the turnbuckle again to just a chorus of cheers. Maybe he was like, hey man, they've not cheered me in a good few years. I'm just going to soak this moment in, and it was absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy for Dirty Dom. Dominic Mysterio, your new Intercontinental Champion. The next match on the card then was Randy Orton's Open Challenge. Of course, Randy Orton was set to wrestle Kevin Owens, but Kevin Owens had to miss this WrestleMania because of a neck injury. This was going to be the KO Mania 8 shirt we were going to get. Look at that. It's class. But, of course, Randy Orton then went out. This is his 20th WrestleMania. He's only missed one ever through injury, and that was 39, I believe. He's been on every WrestleMania except for 39 since WrestleMania 20. He came out wearing gear that was an homage to his first ever set of gear when he first debuted, and he had his little fucking shitty boy long hair. And he comes out, cuts this promo, and just basically goes, this is my 20th WrestleMania. Whoever's back there who wants to answer this open challenge, out you come, but it's not going to go well for you because I'm Randy Orton, and everyone going nuts because it's Randy Orton. And there's a lot of theories going around, could it have been Miro or Rusev? Would it be Aleister Black? Probably not, because they aired that vignette with a date on SmackDown. Could it have been someone coming back from injury? Could it be this guy? It was Joe Hendry, and that fucking ruled. Joe Hendry, the TNA champion, came out to have a match against Randy Orton. Now, Joe Hendry did get geeked out. 3 minutes he got in there. He got all his shit in though. He got a lot of his shit in. Had a lot of fun in there with Orton. Huge moment. But I've seen a lot of people being like, well, wrestling fans, they talk about moments, not matches, and this is, a huge moment. And it was, but I've seen a lot of people be like, kind of this, to the same point of that. If you're a big TNA fan, or if you're in TNA, why would you be so happy with your world champion going out and just getting, bitched out by Randy Orton in 3 minutes? And I get that. However, Joe Hendry has done so much to just build himself. Joe Hendry, everything that's come from Joe Hendry has just been through sheer fucking brute force of him throwing every idea at the wall. I've been a huge Joe Hendry fan for a long, long time, and I'm very happy to see him get this opportunity and do this, and it was really fun. And again, I saw the thing that I kind of think of this is, you know, a few short weeks ago, we were getting ready for Randy Orton to threaten to punt Kevin Owens and do, you know, the banned move, and what we got was 3 minutes and like memes with Joe Hendry, and I both worked just as well for me, so I really enjoyed this. And then Orton hit the spin, looked at the camera and hit his pose, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I can understand why people weren't into this, but for me, they love him in London and Paris and Tokyo, America, Scotland, and Canada, and Mexico. We were watching this, singing, clapping, and I can promise you, we were believing in Joe Hendry. We then went on to what was the second longest match of the night, with Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. Uncle Alan, your destiny is calling you. Uncle Alan, the Tokyo Dome is calling you. Uncle Alan, Haruki Goto and that IWGP World Championship are calling you. The G1 Climax is calling your name. Uncle Alan, listen to the calls. No, in all honesty, I thought this match was fine. I think I was talking about this last night with the boys when we were watching it. You know, when Logan Paul came in, I was quite a fan of it and what he was doing, and like kind of, you know, and I suppose as well at the time he was sort of on his good PR tour and kind of doing a lot to soften the image that a lot of us had of Logan Paul, and over these last couple of years he's done a lot to lose a lot of that goodwill, crypto scams and transphobia and all this stuff. But like in general, if we're just talking about Logan Paul as a wrestler, when he came in, freak athlete, really good, doing moves, putting matches together, doing a lot of cool moves. Everyone was like, yeah, this is good, this is fun. You know, had that fun match with The Miz at SummerSlam. The match with Roman I thought was really good. The Ricochet stuff was good. And in general, I think he's had, you know, he's had a lot of his matches have been good. But the issue with me is whilst what he does, you know, he does cool moves and he's got the cool moves down and he knows how to land all these cool moves except for the buckshot lariat and make them look good, he's not progressed whatsoever in terms of storytelling. He's not progressed whatsoever in terms of psychology. You know, a Logan Paul match is, how do we get to the next cool move? And he doesn't really do a lot to set up his moves, and he doesn't do a lot to earn these cool moves. And whilst he still does cool moves and is a freak athlete and, you know, can be fun to watch, the fact that now we're coming into the third year of his career as a wrestler in WWE, and he's still not like gained any of the psychological aspects of the business is why, apart from like who he is as a person and the transphobia and the crypto scams and things like that, is a big reason that people have softened on him just specifically as a wrestler. And this match was another case of that. You know, AJ's out there being AJ, one of the best ever, and you know, had this match with Logan, and it was fine. I guess it kind of dropped as we got down the stretch, again because Logan's not picked up the sort of psychology aspect of it. Logan's not good at doing the little things, and it's at the start of the match when you're doing all the big moves, that's fine, but then as we're getting down the stretch of a match that went nearly 18 minutes, you need to be doing these little things, and you can't just have AJ do all this. Then Logan's friend came in with the brass knuckles, got stopped by Cross. Karrion Kross was like, AJ, for the love of God, kill the YouTuber. But he didn't end up killing the YouTuber. No, he got beat. So, I said this going in, I win no matter what happens in this match, because if AJ Styles won, then AJ Styles has beat Logan Paul. And then on the other hand, if Logan Paul won, which he did, that means AJ Styles has probably not put pen to paper on a new deal. And you know what that means? We then went on from that to the tag team title match with the Judgment Day's Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, the champs, who entered first again, although it wasn't a good omen for the champs to enter first this time. Wrestling Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. Spoiler alert, not Bayley, because they took her out of this match. They took Bayley's 2 WrestleMania programs away from her. And someone counted, Becky Lynch took 2 bumps in that whole match. I love Becky. I'm very happy Becky's back. When it was announced that Bayley was going to be out of this match, it was very, very obvious it was going to be Becky. And I ask, why? Now, Becky is one of my all-time favourite professional wrestlers. I've been a huge, huge, huge Becky Lynch fan for as long as I've known who she is. I've always thought she was incredible. However, she's been off TV for the guts of a year. I guess this makes sense because Liv Morgan kept doing the whole thing where she was saying, oh, I retired Becky Lynch and things like that. And I get that. But doing all this at the expense of Bayley, who you've already taken a WrestleMania program away from her this year. The start of the year, we were building towards Roxanne versus Bayley at WrestleMania. We were doing that from the very start of the year. Bayley was on every single episode of television the first week of this year. She was on the Raw on Netflix, and then she was on NXT the next night, and then she was on the SmackDown that Friday. And she was back on Netflix, and Roxanne was showing up on SmackDown and Raw, and she was everywhere, and Roxanne was following her, and they put Roxanne in the chamber, and then they've just decided, nah, we're not going to do that. So then you put her in the mid-card on Raw, doing all this stuff with Lyra, getting her in the tag team gauntlet, teaming with Lyra, with Valkyrie, and setting this team up to wrestle Raquel and Liv. And again, at the last minute, the day before, go, actually, you're not going to be in this. You're not going to do this. And Becky came out wearing an honor jacket that said back to business. And obviously the whole thing is what's best for business. And it looks as though that's this kind of the Rollins and Heyman thing going forward. And I guess there's an interesting thing here. If Liv and Raquel retained and then Becky turns on Valkyrie. And then we can have her riding with Heyman and Seth. But again, that's not that interesting if you do it that way instead of just having her come back inside with them, because there's no reason for her to turn on Valkyrie to go into this story. They're teaming together. Why? Because they're Irish? They're teaming together because Triple H hates Bayley. Every single fucking press conference this man says Bayley, consistently always says Bayley is one of the most underappreciated and underrated stars of the last 10 years. Brother, you are booking the show. You're the one underrating her. You're the one underusing her. You're the one undervaluing her. For the love of God, Davina Rose, have you heard of World Wonder Ring stardom? I could talk about this for a long time because Bayley is, in my opinion, one of the true pillars of what's made WWE so special over these last few years, doing everything that she did through COVID and doing the heel turn that no one really thought would work, and what she's done through COVID and the hugger stuff and the role model and last year's Mania, the big massive crowning moment of last year's Mania. She was a mouthpiece for Damage Control, for God's sake. Everyone kind of thought, why are we not putting Bayley in the ring? And then we put her in the ring and she's the best. She's so fucking good. Last year she was this close to getting Hayley Williams to sing her to the ring. Bayley is a legend in that company. Always has been, always will be. Bayley is one of the biggest stars of the modern era. And again, look what happens when you tell talent they're not worth what they're clearly worth. You create a Mercedes Moné. You create a Swerve Strickland. Just don't say we didn't warn you when Davina Rose goes to the dub and does the same thing that Mercedes has done and does the same thing that Swerve has done, and take their stock, which is already so fucking high, and push it further. Because she is a massive star and she will be wherever she goes, and if she decides to stay, fair enough, but if they're treating her like this, I can't imagine why she would want to. Now, I don't know when her contract is up, but the way that certain scoopers and journalists and people in the know have been talking, obviously Mercedes tweeting about her, or tweeting her after, the news that she was no longer going to be in that match. A lot of this to me feels very reminiscent of when Ricochet said he wasn't going to sign the deal, and they were like, okay, so we're just going to make Braun Strowman, or Braun Breaker rather, murder you, we'll create a star in the process, then you can have a few weeks off at home just for your contract to run out. And yeah, maybe they're doing that, but then why would they not have her be attacked off screen? I just want to see the demon shine. But hey, if Hunter wants to lose another one, bro, let Pacemaker Paul fumble again. Then we got to the main event, of course, John Cena wrestling the WWE Champion Cody Rhodes. Now, it was interesting they announced him as the WWE Champion, not the undisputed WWE Champion, so maybe they're going to retire the Universal lineage and then have Cena just be the WWE Champion for 17, which I like. However, maybe that is just, Twitter brain conspiracy theories running wild, but I like that idea. but I did not like this match. It's bad. Okay, I guess I'll talk about the things I liked in this match. Cena's entrance, I loved, and, you know, it's very evident that this wasn't the plan going in. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Cena's final entrance for his final WrestleMania, no big Tron. It was just a black Tron with white writing. It just said John Cena. He walked to the ring by himself. No big theatrical entrance for his last ever WrestleMania. And to be completely honest, despite the fact that he probably didn't want that and probably would have preferred a much more grand entrance, and I probably would have preferred a much more grand entrance, it's such a striking entrance, and it's such an amazing entrance. And I think, short of doing the 100 Cenas lining the ramp like they did at 25, doing something along those lines, you know, you really had to do everything for John Cena's final WrestleMania entrance, or you go the complete opposite way and you do nothing. You don't even have his normal Tron, just a black Tron that says John Cena, and he walked to the ring, and I was looking at it just in awe. I thought it looked incredible. I liked the sort of slow and methodical pace that he worked. I liked him hitting the 5 moves of doom and kind of taking the time to make all of them feel that more impactful and waiting in between them. I think Cena, the way he was working as a heel, but not changing his moves, but changing the way he does his moves, I thought looked great. I think him and Cody have a good chemistry, and you could see that through the opening stretches of this match. And I think, again, Cena kind of leaning into it whilst essentially changing nothing, just changing how he does the things he's always done. Again, that is fantastic, especially considering this character they've got for him as a heel. But then we got a ref bump, and then Travis Scott showed up, and the match was dog shit, and Travis Scott was involved in the finish of what is the biggest match in the history of WWE, the biggest moment in the history of WWE from a strictly kayfabe sense. John Cena winning world title number 17 is, from a strictly kayfabe sense, the single most important moment in the history of the company. Let's be real. This man won the world championship that made him the single most decorated world champion in the history of that company. In terms of kayfabe and in terms of looking at this as like from the storytelling of the product, that is the single most important moment in the history of that company. And it was caused and won by a Travis Scott run-in. It was bad. It was a bad main event. It was awful. I did not like it. And again, with this match, if these two guys were just allowed, if they were given that 25 minutes, which they were given to just have a wrestling match, this probably fucking rules. And they do it face v face, or they do it face v heel, or Cody if he turned heel, or Cena as the heel. If they just do this as that match, it's probably really, really good. But because, you know, The Rock's ego is out of control, this is what we had to deal with. The Rock has not been seen on TV since Elimination Chamber. It was very clear that this heel turn was meant for Cody, who said no, because I remember the Codyverse. And it's very clear they had no plan for what they were going to do with Cena. They just said to Cena, hey, The Rock has decided, because he's on the TKO board, that someone's turning heel. Do you want to do it? And he went, yeah, sure, fuck it, why not? And they have not thought about this. And again, The Rock's ego is ruining professional wrestling. The Rock's ego is the single worst thing in the WWE right now, because Moana 2 made a lot of money, so it was very clear he wasn't going to come back. The only reason he came back last year is because Black Adam bombed, and that was his passion project. And him getting more hands-on with the creative direction of all of this is bad. Whatever he thinks is a good idea, fair enough, be there to implement it, or fuck off. Which he's chose to do after setting all this in motion, because he can't be arsed showing up. I fucking hate him. I hate him. What The Rock has done for professional wrestling this year has helped single-handedly ruin one of the most important moments in the history of WWE. John Cena's final WrestleMania, the 17th World Championship. I'm going to be completely honest, that is quite simply the most important match in the history of professional wrestling. That is the most important match in the history of WWE. And that's what we got. And it just means that Cena's last year as a wrestler has started with this. Started with losing the Royal Rumble to Jey Uso. The Chamber, fucking ripped. And then him turning heel and not being on TV and having an underbaked heel character, and then having this match at WrestleMania. The rest of this final run, the rest of this final year has to be through the roof. Everything he has to do now has to land, because of this decision. Because The Rock just wants to ruin the product and then fuck off for months and then show up and get a pop because he's The Rock, and WWE fans have nothing going on in there. Every time The Rock shows up, it's like jingling keys for a baby and everyone forgets about all the problems with the product. I hate him. I fucking hate him. I hate the air that he breathes. And with that, it drew to a close another up and down night of WrestleMania. So another highlight I forgot to mention, Stone Cold Steve Austin nearly ran a woman over with his ATV. I'm fairly sure as well that woman got hit in the head with the announce table cover when Damian Priest threw it in the match with Drew, because Stone Cold came out in his ATV to announce the attendance and drove it and then crashed into the barrier. This woman, obviously, she took a bump, what a worker, and then it caught her having a conversation with Nick Khan himself. Oh, good lord, I'd be front row for the rest of my life and I'd be getting $100,000 a month. Oh, I ain't settling for nothing less, Nick Khan. Unless you can offer me that right there. I'm like, oh, fuck my neck. Oh, my hips and my knees. Make out with a bag, Queen. Make out with a bag. But again, just another up and down night of WrestleMania. This one started off really, really hot. The first 3 matches were all incredible. And then it marked a real change with the Orton-Henry match, which I thought was fun. Then we had, obviously, Logan Paul and AJ Styles. And then we had the tag match. Then we had the main event. You know, with both these nights of WrestleMania, it really does sort of show, maybe bring it, if they brought it back to one night and just focused on putting the best matches on, it'd be a lot more fun. Again though, I think I'm going to have to give this a 7. I think overall I enjoyed it less than night 1, but the match quality for the start of the show was better. So because of that, I think it kind of evens it to a 7, which means I give this WrestleMania a 7 out of 10 overall. Like I say, some definite highlights in there, both of the triple threats, the Charlotte and Tiffany match. I'm still shooting for. I'm still a shooter for that match, despite the fact Charlotte went out sad and sandbagging. Obviously, now Cena is a 17-time world champion, and you know what? Let's just move on from here. Let's just let the story continue. Let's just let Cena go on and wrestle CM Punk at Money in the Bank. It has to be the play. Obviously, Dominic Mysterio making out with his first singles championship on the main roster. You have now as well the possibility of what's going to happen with Dom and Finn. I thought the Finn face turn here would have been a lot of fun, but with the reaction Dom was getting, you know, did we do it? Does Finn turn heel? Does Finn go to, I bring the trunks back. Trunks, leather jackets, killer Finn Balor, please. We also now have Jacob Fatu as the United States Champion. We have a lot of things going on that were really, really good throughout both of these nights. I just wish they'd been able to stick the landing with a lot more things. But no, I'm cautiously optimistic going forward for what we do have planned. I'm really excited to see what Rollins is doing next. I'm excited to see what Braun Breaker's doing next. Dom is doing next. I'm hopeful for what Cena does next. I'm really excited for what Punk does next. I'm counting down the days till Jey Uso loses that championship. But overall, I think this WrestleMania was fine. I think it over-delivered on a poor build, but all of the issues with the poor build were prominent and prevalent and showed up throughout. A lot of my issues with the show stemmed from a lot of my issues with the build, and a lot of the things I really enjoyed about the show are from matches that kind of didn't really have an issue with their build. So just in general, I think the show both under and over delivered, which is weird. It's in a bit of a weird spot. I think in the grand scheme of things, it may probably go down as a bit of a nothing mania. But hey, that's just my opinions. Let me know what you thought of WrestleMania Night 2 and WrestleMania as a whole down in the comments below. What was your favourite match? What was your least favourite match? Did you like the Dumpster Fire main event? Did you like Travis Scott being involved in the most important match in the history of World Wrestling Entertainment? Do you have a concussion? If the answer to both of those is yes, and if the answer to that is no, what about worms in your brain eating away? Num 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 num. Probably yes. But no, don't forget to let me know what you thought. I really do want to hear everyone's opinions on the show as a whole and on this night specifically as well. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Share this to all of your friends and tell them about the handsome man on wrestling with the really good wrestling opinions. Once again guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.